Hello, my name is David Ogletree, and welcome to Marketing Tech. Today, we have our special guest, Bill Davis. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, how you doing?
Today, we're going to kind of go over WordPress and kind of talk about, Bill's amateur prosumer type of photography. We're going to talk a little bit about cameras and find out what Bill does and what he uses for his computer. Bill, what kind of computer do you use for your daily work?
I use Intel-based or PC-based desktop for my regular work.
Desktop. Is it something you bought pre-made, or would you build it?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that question because for years and years and years, I was a big proponent of building your own PCs, and I built probably for myself 15 different PCs over the years, because I've been doing this since about 1996. So every couple of years, every year or two, you get a new PC. But the last few I've done or I've gotten, I just went to Costco and bought their off the shelf and added memory and called it a day.
And how much memory do you use?
I think this one has 48, which is weird. It's a weird number, but
that is a very weird number.
Yeah, it had 16 and I added 32 to it.
Right.
I think that's 48.
So it has like six slots, maybe?
Yeah, I think it did.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see if you were to take out the original and just use the what you have, and if that would speed things up or if it would be exactly the same.
Yeah, I tried that. I didn't benchmark it, but it didn't feel any different. And since it was running at the same speed, I thought, it's probably okay.
This is something I haven't asked anyone else yet. Do you know, you have a lot of memory, and I know I've seen screenshots from several other people. Do you find yourself with like a whole bunch of Chrome tabs or Firefox tabs, depending on what you use?
No, I'm pretty careful with that. And it's not because of the computer. It's not because of memory. It's because of my attention span. I found that I would love to have 47 tabs open, right? But right. I would be like, they'd be this big, and I'd forget what the hell I was doing. And I like to focus. And we didn't talk about this pre-show, but I'm kind of a productivity nerd.
Right.
So I like to work in like furious bursts of energy and then slack off for a little while. So I probably work really hard for 2 or 3 hours a day.
Right.
And then the rest of the day I'm not. I'm reading, or I'm arguing on Facebook, or something like that.
So I take it you're self-employed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I actually and sometimes it could be any hour of the day for me. I could be like from 3 to 7, in the morning, I can.
Yeah. I actually have kind of like 2 times where I'm productive, and they're different kinds of productive. Early in the morning, and I typically get up at 4 or 5. I'd rather get up at 6, but I have 4 kids, and so I get up. Well, my youngest one does that, but so I have productive hours between, say, 4 and 5, 4 and 6. And then around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I'm ready for a nap. I usually don't get one, but I'm ready for one. Then dinner comes around and I get a second wind. And from, say, 8 to 10, I'm very productive again. And there's also a creative part to it too. Like in the morning, I'm very productive and I can just like knock things out. Mm-hmm. And in the evening, I can get stuff done that's less structured, requires a little bit more creativity, thought. So it's not pounding things out, but it's getting really important stuff done. And that actually helps me because I go to sleep knowing that I accomplished a lot during the day. And it's also fresh in my mind when I go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So that I really do believe this, and I don't know if there's any science behind this, but I do believe that my mind works subconsciously on the things that I was working on before I went to sleep.
Yeah, I believe that too.
They kind of work themselves out. And I learned this a long time ago about myself when I was in high school and college, when I had to write term papers.
Right.
I would sit there going, oh my God, I don't know what the hell to write. And then, I would go to sleep thinking about it. and I would wake up and the paper would be written for the most part. I would just have to type it out. So it works for me.
Yeah, I find that like that helps me. Like if I go running or ride my bicycle, or if I just sit on the couch and think about it for a while, sometimes things will come to me and help me because I'll resolve. Because I do a lot of troubleshooting. That's one of my favorite things in the world to do is troubleshooting. Like before we got started a little bit today because I could not figure out how to get my camera working. But I eventually worked it out. I just had to go through the steps. Yeah, and sometimes sleeping on it helps as well. It's very
Absolutely.
useful.
And I think that kind of like actively thinking about something rather than actively trying to pound it out is usually more effective and efficient for me. I will waste less time because if I just try to do something and I don't, and I've got a block, if I just try to, kind of pound through it, I find that I hit a lot of walls. Whereas if I just step back and let it go, do something else and come back to it a little bit later, I'm a little bit less frustrated. And I think my subconscious has had a little bit of time to kind of like calm me down, but also think about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever you're in a job where troubleshooting or having to solve a problem, that does help.
Yeah.
Helps a lot. So I guess I forgot to introduce you in the sense of what do you do for a living, and what's the name of your company?
So I have a few companies. I've got one in the works, but my main company is called Internet Marketing Muscle. And it's internetmarketingmuscle.com. And there are hyphens between the things. And I know that's not good for SEO and all that crap, but it works. I started out well, let me back up a little bit. In 1996, I was making computer networks and doing back office automation for small businesses in my area. And they would ask, because I was always at a computer, they would always ask, "Oh, so you do websites, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I learned how to, code HTML, and as things evolved, so did I. And I got to the point where I was really good at WordPress, and, I was good at blogging, and then I got good at social media. And I started kind of in a hobby I got into the fitness arena in terms of online marketing, and I got pretty good at it. I was getting a lot of traffic to one of my sites, and I wrote a book, an ebook, and it did okay. And I thought, well, everything I did leading up to that point was really, really difficult. Like doing a sales page, the technology behind it, and just making things look right, and having pop-ups and email lists and all that stuff was, to me, immensely difficult in around 2001 to 2005.
Right.
It kind of sucked. So I thought, I'm kind of a teacher at heart. I've been down that path in a formalized situation. I never got to full teacher, but I was a substitute teacher working my way up to it. And then things changed, but I really like teaching, and I've taught adults too. So I decided I was going to teach people how to do what I was doing, which was, it wasn't really a thing then, but internet marketing, right? How to market on the internet. So that's what I started to do. So I started this company called Internet Marketing, and it's kind of internet marketing and marketing muscle. The idea behind it is, you want to put some muscle behind your marketing. You want to give it some energy, some strength, some power. And so I started the company, and I started that company in around 2009. I had been working at a financial institution. Before that, I worked at the phone company. And when I say the phone company, I literally mean the phone company. That would be a Ma Bell company.
Right.
It was the worst 2.5 years of my life. It was a very interesting job, but I worked for horrible people. And I'm still convinced that there's not a single good person in upper management who's worth a damn there.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I moved on to a financial institution. They wound up getting sold or whatever, bought by a big company, and I got laid off. And I thought, well, shoot, why don't I start my own thing? So in 2009, that's what I did. And so I started teaching people how to do these things, and I started if you don't want to learn it, but you need it, I'll provide the service. So there was kind of a do-it-yourself aspect to it and a done-for-you aspect to it. And that's kind of where I am today. So I do a lot of sales copy, email copy, email marketing, social media setup and marketing, kind of the works.
Right. So you said you're kind of into being efficient. So like when you have tabs open, what's the most you ever have open on your computer?
I've never counted them, but I would venture to guess a dozen or less. A dozen.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably more than I do. I try to keep it down to less than 7 or 8.
And the only reason I said that is because I have a cool, I use Chrome. Mm-hmm. I used to be a big Firefox guy, and I've gone back and forth over the last 10 years.
Right.
Something will happen and Firefox will like blow up and not work. And then I'll go to Chrome and I'll use that for a couple of years. And the same thing will happen to it. I'll go back to Firefox. And it's cool that that there's competition because they're always getting better. Right. But right now I'm a Chrome guy.
Same here.
Not bashing Firefox at all. I love them. I love everything they stand. Well, I shouldn't say everything. I love what they stand for in terms of like privacy and security and stuff like that. And I don't really like, it's a double-edged sword. I don't really like giving all my information to Google, but I kind of feel like the internet is Google centric now. Right. But that, having said that, I have this browser. Well, it's not an extension. It's actually it's a page that you log into where you can set and move around all these different widgets and it's called start.me. Check it out. It's pretty cool. You can make whatever, homepage you want.
Right.
And on one of the widgets, I have like a startup menu and it's got 11 sites in it. And I can open all 11 sites with one click. That's why I said a dozen or less. There is an instance where I do use a lot of tabs. I used to work with Salesforce, and so I needed to basically go through a list and do something with each one of them. And so what I would do, I had an extension called Link Clump, and so you basically select, draw this. Huh? Yeah. I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So you select all the URLs and you let go of it and boom, it opens up all those things. Yep. And so then I would go through them one at a time, do the work, close it. So I would know when I was done and then hit the next page or whatever. Cause I would just open all that was shown to me at the time. Then I hit next and then just repeat the process throughout the day. When I was doing that, it was many years ago when I was doing something in Salesforce for a company. And it was really cool to do that. And that would open up a lot of tabs sometimes.
Yeah.
So you work in WordPress. So I know that WordPress has done some stuff fairly recently. What's going on with WordPress right now?
Oh, good question. I'll tell you, I don't really keep up with the technical details, to be honest.
Okay.
I know, the biggest thing that happened in the last couple of years was the Gutenberg editor.
Right.
And it seemed like it's kind of like politics. Half of the people liked it and half of the people didn't. And I don't mind it. I don't care because I don't really use that editor much anyway. I mean, if I write a blog post, I'll use the editor and it's good. It's solid. I like it. I like that you can add columns and you can, format text a little better. And they've got the blocks and it's really cool. But I have a plugin suite that I use called Thrive Themes. They have a plugin that's called, I think it's called Thrive Architect now. It used to be called Content Builder, but it's kind of like a Beaver Builder, if that's a better known one, or kind of like a Divi, but it's not short codes. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. So you drag stuff onto the screen and you lay it out however you want. It's really easy to use, and it's great at making opt-in forms, squeeze pages, sales pages, nicer looking blog posts. And they've now developed a theme framework as well that makes creating your own custom theme
Right.
Super simple.
Yeah, I've worked on and off with WordPress for years, but every once in a while I get really deep into it for a couple of weeks, and then I won't use it for a year. So so I did. I have a lot of friends on Facebook that are deep into it, and I think I saw yesterday or today that apparently there's a new version now that's really breaking a lot of websites.
Yeah, it's 5.5. I don't even know when I started with WordPress. I want to say it was in the 1X's, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I was pretty early too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I think it's 5.5, and knock on wood, if I've had any wood here. I'm one of those people. I used to be an early adopter and would just jump right in, but I don't do that anymore with any technology.
Right.
Nothing. I don't do it with cars. I don't do it with cameras. I don't do it with computers. I don't do it with WordPress for sure.
Yeah.
So I wait until the new thing's been vetted and all the bugs have been fixed. And I know, Automatic, which is the company that makes WordPress, they're really good. But knowing what I know, and I've worked at a lot of IT companies, startup companies, programming type companies that make applications and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that anything ever works because there are so many things that can go wrong, so much interoperability and so many conflicts that can happen. So the best way to deal with that is you wait. I would say wait a week.
Yeah.
Unless it's a security issue.
Of course. Yeah.
Wait a week.
Yeah.
The bugs get ironed out. And then what you do is you update all your plugins, you update all your whatever thing. I wouldn't say all your themes. You should only have one or two, right? But update your themes, make a backup, make sure it's offline that you can get to, and then upgrade to 5.5.
Right. Yeah. The problem, and I've seen and I've heard other people talk about, is when they log into a new client's website and they just open the plugin page and it's just endless how many plugins they might have. And so that could be a real problem.
It's a huge problem.
And I think what the new problem is that the new version is assuming that people have done things correctly in the past, and that's why it's breaking them, because people made things improperly. Because Mac did the same thing, I think, with High Sierra, I think it was, when they released High Sierra. They closed up some backdoors and loopholes that people were using for different things. And all of a sudden, an entire industry disappeared because people were using what's called a USB external monitor, which you can still do on a PC, I think. But after High Sierra, it broke that functionality because they were basically taking advantage of a loophole or essentially not a kind of a hack, where they were, and then Apple closed that up. And that was the end of it. USB monitors no longer worked on Macs.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been the good and the bad of Microsoft, right? Is they really try for that backwards compatibility, and it often is other issues, right?
Right.
Security issues and whatnot. And so it's kind of like, you pick your poison. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, what are the the different plugins you mentioned the ones already. What is your default plugins that you use outside of the ones you already mentioned for WordPress?
Yeah. So the plugin I rely on the absolute most is a backup plugin called Updraft.
Okay.
Updraft Plus, and it is a plugin. It's comes in a free version and a premium version. I use the premium version because I use it on a lot of different sites. I use it anytime I go to a client site, I install it, make a backup, and go from there. And I have the license to do that.
Right.
It allows a lot of different things. I don't know why my nose is itching so much right now. But you can clone your site, back up your site. You can also migrate your site. They also have some functionality that allows you to use their hosting for very short term, like one day, so that you can test things out before you put them into production. It's kind of like a staging area. So if your web host doesn't have a staging area, you can use theirs. and it just expires. It blows up after like a day or two, something like that.
Right.
And it's really cool. I've used that on some sites where, like you were talking about troubleshooting earlier, where, you know, it's dangerous to troubleshoot on a live site. So you take a backup of it, you put it on their host, and you fiddle around with it. So you're not breaking the client site in production. I like that one a lot. I mentioned Thrive Themes. What else do I use? Oh, I use Rank Math, which is an SEO plugin.
Okay.
It's, kind of similar to Yoast.
Right. So you use that instead of Yoast?
Yeah.
And all-in-one SEO is the other one?
Yep. I've used them all. I'm not going to say anything bad about any of them. I just like Rank Math better now.
Nice. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's really good. They're very quick with updates and patches and stuff like that. And it's just as easy to use as Yoast, maybe a little bit easier because it's a little lighter.
Right.
Yoast became so big, like it does everything now.
Right.
Whereas Rank Math is a little bit more kind of SEO core.
Right.
What else do I use? I have a list.
That's okay.
I always forget because there's so many of them.
What about as far as plugins for Chrome?
Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to mention WordFence. I use WordFence exclusively too.
Oh, what is that?
It's a WordPress security plugin.
Okay.
It's a firewall.
Oh.
And it has a lot of good, you can write rules. You can do blocking. Like if you notice that this IP is always spamming comments or whatever, you can just block the IP.
Nice.
It's very good. I like it. And their support is really good. They have, they put out a lot of, when there's a security issue found in a WordPress plugin, they let us know. And if you're on the paid version, which I'm not, because it's kind of expensive. I don't remember how much, but I thought, if I had this many sites, it's going to cost me a fortune. So I said no. But the free one works. But what the main difference between free and premium is they put in some of the security fixes first on the premium ones and then roll it out to the free ones later. Right. So you can be a little susceptible. But I've, again, knock on wood, I haven't had a WordPress security issue in 10 years, maybe. That really hurt me.
Yeah.
What do I use for Chrome? My favorite Chrome extension is one called OneTab. We were talking about tabs earlier.
Right.
And every tab you open uses a little bit of memory.
Sure.
And if you have 100 tabs open, you might be using I'm just going to throw this out there, a gig worth of memory.
Easily.
When you hit the one tab icon, they all compress into one tab as a list of URLs.
Oh, kind of the reverse link clump.
Yes. And they're, in order to sell their extension, one tab in the Chrome store says that, they have a demo where there's a bunch of tabs open and it's using a gig or a gig and a half of memory. And they use one tab and it goes down to like 100 and whatever, it goes down to like one meg or, some ridiculous number. And you're saving like 98% of your memory. It's really good. When you note a lot of times, especially on like video calls, I like shut everything down and I restart my computer.
Right.
It's just to clear everything out. But when I don't have time, I just use one tab and it frees up a bunch of memory and it usually lets me get through until I can shut down and start over.
Yeah, one of the problems with Chrome is they use that prefetch a lot. And so that's constantly filling up the memory. And on laptops, that can actually really take down your battery. And so so what you're talking about, that plugin would really help on laptops.